just do a quick introduction of Hilarie. So Hilarie Couture has been drawing since the age of 2, but she said she was on a hiatus for 43 years until she was recently been able to really concentrate on her art full time. All of her life experiences have translated to her canvases as she is self-taught but attends workshops from many artists she admires. Hilarie is represented by Attic Gallery, Camas, Washington, Gallery K, and Ruth Kumler's Gallery in Fort Wayne, Indiana, as well as Catharose and Tree of Life Gallery in Roanoke. I'm probably butchering all these names. I'm sorry, Hilarie.
You're doing very well.
Wow, but you are so accomplished. She's had solo shows, participated in various local and national groups, and had her own curated traveling show in Vancouver, Washington called Founding Mothers Portraits of Progress, with 55 portraits of women in her community made contributions in effort to honor them. You would probably really get along with Veronica Funk as well, because she does portraits of women as well.
I read about her.
Yeah. Yes, and she actually has a art residency with one of our navigators, Anna, at the Sparrows Art Space in Calgary this month.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. So anyway, also Hilarie's written a book to document the project, and she is recently created a new project that will also travel for a year. This is a show of 51 portraits of Fort Wayne residents who come from diverse cultures. The show will be debuted October 1st at the Jeffrey Krull Gallery at the Allen County Library, Fort Wayne. So yeah, that's pretty incredible, Hilarie.
That one debuted in October, and I've been physically carrying all those portraits to different areas in the region. That right now it's at a big, it's called the Honeywell Center, and they have theater performances, but they have a beautiful gallery wall that spans like, I don't know, 150 feet, or I don't know, it's very long, but all my portraits didn't even fill it, but it's a great spot for those. And then I'm picking it up from there in 2 weeks, and I'm taking it to a St. Francis University Gallery. And yeah, it's I have programs that are attached to the exhibit, and I don't know if I wrote that on my bio, but I created QR codes and I interviewed each person. So it was just a short, like 30-second interview where I asked each person 3 questions about moving to this area, and you know, what the trials were for them coming from another country or another culture, and what they missed the most about their country, things like that. And so you could watch the interview, and I also created a book where you can scan the QR code and watch the interviews in the book. So
that's awesome. So yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about that, you can go to hcouturearts.com and check that out. Hilarie, how big are these paintings?
So they range in size from 1620 all the way up to 30 by 40. And then there's one that's, I think it's about 3 by 5 feet. And some of them are mixed media, some of them are oil, some of them are pastel. And each one has something about that person in the background. So it's not just a head, it's, you know, like part of the country or something significant to them, because each person I really talked to while they were in my studio and tried to get to know them and maybe the story that they wanted to be told. So yeah,
I bet
I'm pretty proud of it.
Do you have the modeling in your studio then? Is that how you?
Yeah, everybody came over for about 90 minutes. And then I had model releases. They signed the model releases. And then I did the video with them. And then they posed from life. And only one lady couldn't, because she was 95 and I had to go to her home, and she had an oxygen tube. And so I just took pictures in my iPad and came back and painted that one at home. But she was from Syria, and just a delight. So
I bet it was a fun project for you, fun to paint all those different.
It was Yeah, and I just never realized how many different ethnicities were in this community. And, like I had a guy from Kyrgyzstan. I had never even heard of Kyrgyzstan. So yeah, it was quite
Wow.
interesting.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and the greatest thing was when I had the first opening, everybody came dressed in the clothing that they were painted in and stood in front of their paintings that were draped on the walls. And then we had an unveiling. So I would call each section of the walls, I would call each person up and they would look at their painting for the first time. So we dropped the drape and then they turned around and saw their painting for the first time. And it was really exciting. And then they would get the book and go around and have other people sign their books and autograph their page on their book. And yeah, it was really it was just special, really special. So
Wow, that is remarkable. Really is remarkable and make such an impact on so many people's lives, Hilarie. That's amazing. If you'd like me to bring up your website later, you can let me know that and I can do that for
yeah.
you.
Put it in
Well,
the chat.
oh, okay. Yeah, you could do that. Put it in the chat.
Oh yeah,
The nicest thing that happened when one of the people came up to me and said, "This is the first time I've ever felt seen." And that was just like, oh, wow.
That's sad.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of them were immigrants or, they've come from so many different backgrounds, fleeing their country from spoils of war or whatever. And some of them are very accomplished here, had educations, open businesses. And then, some of them were just learning English when they came to my studio. So it was a big cross section of people.
Mhm. That's incredible to hear more about that project. Thank you, Hilarie. And
Yeah,
welcome,
thanks for
Adam.
asking.
You're welcome. So yeah, please check out Hilarie's website there. I believe there's pictures there as well on your website, Hilarie. Or
Yeah, and I think I have a video of the opening if I remember right.
I can share the screen
reception.
to show it.
It might be a little too long, but
Yeah, we will watch the video, but just to show where to find it. So here's Hilarie's website, and where would we go to find?
see if it's at the videos on the videos. So that's there's the Founding Mothers one, and then that was a solo show I had. And then that was with the Founding Mothers Project. That's it, the last one there.
The last one. Okay.
Yeah, that was at the opening.
That's wonderful. So definitely have a look at that later. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing. On top of all these wonderful things that Hilarie has accomplished, Hilarie's also been a guest judge for different art group competitions, such as the Gateway International Show online, and will be for the Lakeland Arts Spring Show in Warsaw, Indiana. She's been published in magazines and has won numerous awards. And I just love this. Hilarie loves giving back and sharing what she's learned to help other artists. She teaches workshops in the studio and elsewhere and is a popular instructor for various art guilds, retirement facilities, community colleges, and teaching specialized workshops. Besides painting her romantic narratives, Hilarie offers portrait and other commissions at her studio gallery in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and on locations. So yeah, the list goes on. Hilarie's super accomplished. So Hilarie, we're excited to learn from you tonight and welcome everyone here.
I have a question.
Do you,
in your group, do you just focus on portraits, or do you have landscape painters too?
Yeah, I focus on fundamentals, so you can use those for any subject matter. Yeah. And of course, my forte is people, but I am actually going to a plein air event on Friday here. So yeah, I mean, I paint other things too, but it's like whatever your passion is, that's what drives you. And that's what I really love. So
yeah, that's a great question. Hilarie, do you want to talk a little bit about your mentorship course and your mentorship group at Mastrius?
Yeah, so we're doing a little mini course of 3 sessions coming up next month. And what I'm doing is focusing on color, but I'm approaching it from 3 different aspects of color. So we're going to be looking at color through psychological meanings, you know, how color makes people feel. And then also the science of color and light, which is very important because if you don't have light, you can't see color. And so that's the main thing. And then the third one will be about mixing color and how artists can apply all these things that we've learned prior to that to our color mixing. So that's coming up next month. I think it's is it the second Wednesday of July, I believe is the first one. And then, yeah, and then I guess we're launching after that, my mentorship group. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'll actually show you on Hilarie's profile here on Mastrius. So she is going to start with it's like a taste of mentorship course that will run for 3 months. And then that will lead into an aspiring level of mentorship group starting in October, but you can actually get to her course by going to mastrius.com and upcoming courses. And just scroll down.
There it is.
Yeah, taste of mentorship. So that's fantastic to know that you're going to be focusing on color and the psychology and mixing and understanding light. That's fantastic. Starts July 12th. So wonderful. Hilarie, I know you want to talk a little bit about your art journey and the genres that you paint and the mediums that you use. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, well, you know, as Anae said, I started at 2 years old. I actually did. I had a purple crayon and my dad had Playboy magazines on the coffee table, and I would go up and I would give them clothes because I thought they were cold. So I took my purple crayon and drew clothes on all those little naked ladies in his magazines. And he always said, I just bought them for the articles, but all of a sudden they disappeared. And what I got was one of those, and you're probably, I don't know if you're old enough, but there was a syndicated television show, and it was with an artist named John Nagy, and it was How to Draw, and it was on Sunday mornings. And there was this little kit, and it had an articulated figure, and it had a couple of carbon pencils and a piece of charcoal and a couple pastels and a kneaded eraser. And you would watch him every Sunday and draw along with him. And so that's what I started doing when I was just a young person. And my first subjects were ballet dancers and horses. I think a lot of kids really love drawing horses. And that was me. And I didn't know anything about Degas, but as I got older, I started to think, well, maybe I was Degas in my past life or something, you know. But anyway, yeah. So then in 3rd grade, I did all the paper dolls for the girls in school, and I didn't want to color them in. I said, I'll draw the clothes, but you all have to color them in. And then I did the bulletin boards. And then when I got into high school, I had an instructor, and her name was Zenaid Lure. And for some reason, she just didn't like my work. And I got a C in art, and I was just devastated because as a senior, that was the only C I had. And I had all A's besides that. And it almost caused me not to really want to pursue art at all.
Wow.
I went to, yeah. And she loved orange. And to this day, I can't wear orange because it reminds me of her. It's gotten better. It's gotten way better. But anyway.
Is she alive to hear all this?
No, she passed on years ago, but yeah, I'm getting ready to go to my 50th high school reunion. So that tells you how many years ago that was.
Well, but I'm happy to hear someone else has an aversion to orange as well.
Yeah, but I will use it in my work. It's just, you know, I just can't wear it. So so high school, college, I was a medical illustration major, but all the classes I had to take were physics and economics, and I didn't have any art classes. So I quit school and I hitchhiked out to San Francisco, and I met a lady that was a Buddhist. She made puka shell necklaces on the streets. And she said, you know, you ought to get a street artist license. And I had never done anything like that, but I went and got my artist license, and I sat on the street corner in San Francisco and started drawing portraits in pencil and like charcoal pencil and charcoal. And then this woman, and they were terrible. And this woman came by and said, you need to let me draw your portrait. I'm an artist in New Orleans. And if you want your work to get good, you need to come out there. So within 2 weeks, I was out there and I lived there for a while and then traveled up the East Coast. And of course, this was in the early 70s. So, you know, people were traveling around and hitchhiking and doing all that stuff back then. And then I tried to set up in Omaha, Nebraska, where I was from. And I saw this woman that had a China doll haircut and a kimono, and she was really neat. And I asked her if I could do her portrait and try to get people to gather around, because we would find somebody to be a shill, and then we'd have them sit, and then we'd do their portrait, and then it would start our business day, basically. And so she said, oh, I'd love to, but I've got to go do a haircut. And so we decided we were going to trade a portrait for a haircut. And I went to her house and she cut my hair into a beret haircut. And I did 2 portraits of her. And then she talked me into going to beauty school. And so I did. And then I never did any art for like almost 45 years. I was cutting hair all that time.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I was 55, I went back to college to get a degree in historic preservation. And my final project was to create a triptych or a diptych. And I had to paint something that would fit into a wall finish. And so I decided to use the genre of Art Nouveau. And I painted something in acrylic, just using 3 colors. I was influenced by Maxfield Parrish. And I tried to do something like that. Of course, you know, it was the first time I painted in like 45 years. And my instructor came up and he said, you're an art, or you're a hairdresser? And I said, yes. And he said, and you're a realtor? And I said, yes. And he said, and you're an auctioneer? And I said, yes. And he said, oh, you've missed your calling. And at just that moment, I thought to myself, well, I'm still alive. I mean, I haven't missed it yet, but that was encouragement, because I thought, oh, wow, maybe I should get back into art. And then I met my husband, my second husband, and I asked him to pose for me. And so he sat and I did a quick charcoal portrait of him. And when he got up to look at it, he got tears in his eyes and he said, this is what you need to do. And so about 2 years later, I retired from all my jobs. And when I turned 60, I was able to pretty much focus on art. So at that point, I just started devouring everything I could, like books and YouTube videos and going to workshops. And so it's kind of the same way I am now, but you know, whatever I've learned, if I can help people, I love to share it and save them years on their journey, because I haven't been on mine that long yet. So
Hilarie, looking at your work, no one would even know that. That is incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And it's inspiring because I joined Mastrius when I was 55, I think. Maybe I was older than that. And I thought, oh, it's too late to really get good at art. Do you know?
No, art is the one career that you can be older, and it's so much better when you're older, because all your life experience translate to your canvases. You know, everything that you've lived in your life, you express in your work, and you are the individual. You know, it's your work, it's your life experiences, and that's what makes you special and unique. So
that's incredible. So Hilarie, was that just a really aha moment, like when your teacher told you that?
Yeah. I thought, well, wait a minute, you know, hey, I think I'm breathing. I'm not in the hole yet. And it's like, maybe I should, because I just never even thought about doing art. I wasn't encouraged when I was younger. You know, you have to get a job and make a living, and that's how it always was. So I never felt like I could really do it. And well, it's not easy. I mean, as you all know, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's always good, but it's not always economically feasible. So
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Hilarie, I know you have a wonderful demo planned, and Hilarie's more than happy to answer questions throughout the demo. But why don't we get started on that? I'll spotlight you.
Okay.
You have just about 40 minutes left. So
Okay, well, I'll do what I can.
Yeah, do what you can. It's all good.
And
And And yeah, feel free to just raise your hand or just ask a question or type it in the chat, and I'm happy to ask it for you.
Yeah, you can just shout out. So I'm obviously doing this in pastel, and I like the sanded paper the best because it accepts water medium. And so I guess you can probably see the image that I'm working from, but I'm gonna
see the image. We can, if you want to turn your camera a little bit, but I will
did you
share.
I sent it to you?
Yeah,
Did you get
I'll share briefly what image we're going to be.
Are you able to see it on my oh, you know what? Let me put it on my iPad. There we go. Can you see it now?
So here's the image that Hilarie is her reference photo.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reflection in the background is not on the image, but I just set up my iPad. Are you able to see that?
No, you're right in the way, but that's okay. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I'll pop the reference photo into the chat, and people can download it if they'd like to see. Okay.
So I set this up as a camera, but I guess you're not able to see it. So
yeah, are you logged into Zoom on that one?
I thought I was.
I don't have a second.
It says host is not in the meeting yet. Let me leave it.
Yeah, I don't have you as a second person. Make sure not to join with sound, or else we're gonna hear a very
Yeah,
loud.
I have it with no audio, but let's see. Maybe I need to try again.
Maybe just refresh it.
In the meantime, I'm going to drop in the reference.
Oh, goodness. Do you have the numbers, the ID numbers? I'll try this manually. Meeting ID.
Well, I can,
Or is that going to be too much trouble?
I'm just thinking how I'm going to get that. It's like, it can copy this invite link and email it to you again, if that helps.
Yeah, let me see if I can get back to my, okay, I'm on here. Join with.
If not, we can see what you're doing. It's just at an angle. So
Here, let me try it again, because we've been having some problems with internet.
sure. So I've just sent you the link again to your email. If you can open your email on your iPad.
Yeah, I clicked on the old link. Are you able to see it now?
You're not in as a second person on the Zoom call right now, Hilarie. You're just in once.
Okay, let's see. I'll go back to your new one. Sorry about this.
That's okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I didn't realize Hilarie was joining with the second camera. But in the meantime, come up with all your questions if you have questions for Hilarie.
Ah, there you go.
You see it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to spotlight that one now. There we go.
Is it showing good?
It is. Yeah, it's in portrait. So if you turn your camera around, it should be, there we go. Except I actually think the other way was better, because now I can't see your, there, that's good. Yep.
Okay.
Is that good for everyone, or do you want it turned the other way? That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Hilarie.
Okay, here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get an idea of size and placement to start with. And I'm not really concerned with color, like I'm using something that's sort of purple, just kind of to get the basic drawing. And I'm just giving myself kind of some tick marks for placement. And what's important really is value. So I'm just going to sort of indicate this this photo doesn't have a lot of good value, like, there's not great areas of darks and lights. So as artists, we can cheat that. And so I'm going to determine that this is my shadow side over here, even though there's a little shadow, but it's not very good. So this is my shadow side.
People who can do portraits always just amaze me.
Yeah. And so now I'm going to look for my dark areas. And so the background, I'm just going to indicate, and this is basically an underpainting. So
Okay.
I'm not really too concerned.
Now I heard some people who are pastel artists that do underpaintings. They do the underpainting and then they wet it. Are you going to do the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just using my pastel right now
Mhm.
and filling in the dark areas as I see them. And I'm not too concerned because pastel is such a wonderful forgiving medium that if I didn't like what I did, I can just paint right over it.
So it's just,
So-
yeah, layering. Okay.
I love that. And then when I do an underpainting, I'm just trying to fill in with some tone. So I can choose to use complements or, which is kind of what I'm doing here because the greens are kind of garish in pastel. So it's always nice to use a warm under greens. And I'm not going to do a whole lot with this, but just enough where I have large areas where I want to fill it in because I use up too much pastel if I don't do this underpainting first. And basically it's just kind of blocking in with sort of with value and tone, because like I said, I can go right over it. It probably looks like a disaster now, but I'm not worried.
Not at all. It doesn't look like a disaster to me. It's amazing already.
Okay, so then what I use is isochlorophyll alcohol. And I'm just going to use a small bit. And this happens to be 91 percentage, but you can use regular 70%. The 91 actually dries a bit faster. And this is UART paper. So UART paper is a sanded paper. And like I said, it accepts a wet medium and it makes it work sort of like a watercolor. So I'm going in with my lightest values first.
And this is isopropyl alcohol that you're using?
And just a scrubby paintbrush.
Wow, that's cool.
So it makes it like a watercolor painting. Of course, I'm squinting a lot.
I've never seen pastels used, so this is really educational for me.
Me too.
Good.
Yes, because everyone's like, how is pastels painting? Well, you're just showing us how it becomes painting.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It can be coined as a drawing medium or a painting medium.
Now, is this the only layer that you apply wet to, Hilarie?
Typically, yes. I mean, sometimes I go over it again, but typically it's better if you do it just in your underpainting stage.
Okay. Otherwise, what happens? Does it just become a big?
Well,
muddy mess?
everything kind of mushes together
Okay.
and I just feel like it's more successful if it's in the underpainting stage. Everybody's probably looking at this and going, should do it.
But it'll look like magic when you bring it to life.
Well, that's the goal. I hope so. For you do a demo, I'm always at the mercy of, hopefully this is going to turn out. Okay, and then it just takes a few minutes to dry. That's why I like to use the alcohol. I can use water or I can use like a odorless mineral spirits, but the alcohol does dry the quickest. And so that makes it an easier situation. It's still a little bit wet. I think I'll wait a few minutes. This would be a good time if anyone has questions. You could ask.
I have seen people use water, so that's interesting that you use the isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah, you can use water outside because it'll dry faster.
Okay.
You know, that, I mean, if you're painting in plein air, you can easily use water, but you know, like for these purposes here in the studio, I kind of feel like I like it to dry faster. And so that's why I like to use.
Now, are you, with the colors you're choosing, are you trying to get closest to the actual colors of the reference, or are you just choosing ones that you feel would fit?
Yeah, I'm not that concerned about the color because I can continue to tweak the color, and I like to see, because pastel is a layering medium, and so I like to see the different layers happen. So I tend to go warm and cool both, and you know, I know that I can tweak it as I move along.
And how do you like darken a color or lighten a color? Then do you use just darker colored pastels, or do you?
Yeah, you just work over top of it.
Okay.
And is that a good answer? I mean, did I
Well,
answer
I
your
was just
question?
thinking, like, sometimes we would add white to things, or we add yellow to a green to make it, to lighten the value. Does that same kind of rule apply in pastels, or is it a little different?
Yeah, I mean, you can, I wouldn't go too crazy with white, but I tend to work like an oil painter where I work with dark, with light over dark.
Light over dark. Okay, that was my next question, because we know oil and acrylic is you do dark and then light, and watercolors light to dark.
Right. And some people do. I think it's whatever you get used to, because I've done a few paintings in watercolor, and I approach it just like an oil, and it works out okay. I just have to think about my white areas.
Okay. Now, for those that don't know, I heard with pastels, you have to have a lot of colors because you don't do color mixing so much in pastels. So how many pastel colors do you have, Hilarie? Like, if someone's starting out, what's the minimum number they should have?
Well, it's not really a minimum, but I mean, like I said, you can layer them, and you can make one pastel almost seem like it has different values by the amount of pressure that you use.
Okay.
So, you know, I think if you have kind of if you can start out with a limited palette, like a split primary palette, that's warm and cool of all your primaries, and then add some earth tones to that, you know, some siennas and umbers, and pretty much, you know, you can just build on top of it.
Yeah, I know pastels can be fairly pricey. Do you have a favorite brand that you like to use?
I have so many kinds, you know, and it's like like with oil painting, you kind of start with your harder sticks, like with fat over lean and oil painting. So you start with your hard sticks and then you go to your softer sticks. And typically the lighter colors are the, they become a lot of the softer sticks.
Okay.
What's important to me is trying to get the essence out. So I'm not as concerned. I don't really think about the likeness. I just hope that the feeling comes out,
Mhm.
that I'm capturing the feeling in the model, and also the feeling that I had when I started painting it.
I think you answered this. You do more than just portraits as well, right?
Right. So if I'm at a place, and I'm going to do a landscape, for instance, I'm always thinking about, the feeling I had when I approached that place, so that I can, sometimes I even write down like, certain things about the place I'm at, like, the time of day, or the sounds I'm hearing, or just things like that, because that brings me back to that place and helps me to be able to capture it, hopefully.
That's incredible. Audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
You do any blending? And if you do, how do you do it with pastels?
So I typically don't blend, like I don't use my finger and smear. With sanded paper, you won't have fingerprints left. So you can't really blend like that. But if I ever feel like I didn't fill up an area, like with, the dark areas giving me a nice, it fills not only it doesn't fill the tooth as much as it fills the tone, but you can use like little pieces of pipe insulation, and that will help you to, make a smoother area if you want. I like showing the texture. So I really like seeing the strokes in the work, because that's where I think the artist hand comes in. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Can you talk a bit more about the paper? I mean, I think, so this actually has quite a bit of texture to it, correct? And why is that?
Yeah. It's a sandpaper, so it comes in different grades, and this one happens to be 500, but it's similar to regular sandpaper that you get from a hardware store. And yeah.
Could you use regular paper you get from a hardware store?
Could you use it? I think you'd rather buy, this paper, but or you can make your own sanded surfaces by gessoing like a mat board, or even a canvas, and putting some marble dust in it. I have a formula for that.
Do you have a color paper you prefer?
Well, it only comes in this like ivory color. It comes in this, and it comes in a dark, which is almost black. So
I've seen pastel paper and stuff in gray. I think I have some gray.
yeah,
Which
and that's
you-
probably a fibrous paper, which is, you can't use wet medium with that.
Okay.
But those are nice too. It's just, once I started working, because back in the 70s when I did portraits on the streets, they didn't even make a sanded paper. I think Kitty Wallace in Oregon was the first one that really came out with that. And then other manufacturers kind of got on the bandwagon with it. But
Do you do other things besides portraits?
Do I?
Yes.
Yes, I paint everything. I just kind of look at it as shapes. But for me, I just love people and I love to, try to capture their essence. So
I know Hilarie, I know you do flowers as well, and then Hilarie paints also in oil as well and does mixed media. So do some of your pastels end up being part of your mixed media work, Hilarie, or?
yeah, I've put gold leaf with pastel before.
What other mediums can you use pastel with? Can you use it with acrylics or oils and things?
You can put pastel over acrylic. And acrylic would be like your underpainting, and you can do printmaking. You can use it with watercolor pastels. I mean, it's basically pure pigment with gum tragacanth or gum arabic added. So it's the purest pigment.
Oh,
Okay.
And so it lends itself really well. The only problem is if the surface doesn't hold the pastel anymore, then you need to either use a working fixative and then you can build your pastel over the top of that again. Or
Sorry, if you spray a working fixative over, you can continue to add and it won't blend what's underneath then?
right,
Yes.
yes.
Do you use, if a person were to use oil pastels, is that the same or are they just a completely different animal?
Completely different animal. And they're not regarded, like in entering competitions. They're just not very highly regarded. And
I always
don't know.
thought oil was like the premium. Oil pastels must be better than the regular soft pastels, and then I bought them and I'm like, oh, these are like crayons. These aren't any good at all.
Yeah, they really are
So-
like crayons too.
I don't even know what I have now. I have Rembrandt pastels.
Rembrandts are
What?
nice.
Are
Rembrandts
they
are
oil or are
they're a chalk pastel.
they're chalk
And
pastel?
and they're really nice. Royal Talons is the company that manufactures them. And they were one of the first manufacturers of pastel.
What kind of pencil are you using right now, Hilarie?
This is a pastel pencil. I grabbed it because as you can see, these sticks are pretty chunky. And so if I want to get, like a little detail, which I'm working on a pretty small piece, this is like a 9x12. So, if I'm using this big stubby stick, I can't always follow my line that well. So I try, but this is a Bronzel, which is a company out of Holland and also manufactured by Royal Talons, but I like a lot of different ones. I mean, I'm not I'm not so much a brand person as just a performance, if it works for me, that's all I care about. So
I didn't realize you can get it in pencil form. That's fantastic.
yeah, so if you're a detail person, people like the pencils a lot.
So what are you going to do when you're doing your mentorship? What are you focusing on?
I typically approach art from the point of fundamentals. So of course, I'm looking for what my people are wanting to get from me. That's the most important thing. But I guess I think that most people are probably going to take a mentorship from me because they see my portrait work. But I'm happy to work with anybody, at any interest that they have, because when you think about it, it's all about shape. And so subject is, secondary really. And
So
the
you're
principles
doing-
apply to everything.
Sorry, you're doing an aspiring group. Are you going to teach how to use pastels, or are you expecting is it something that anyone can have any medium, or
Yeah, you can have any medium. I mean, if somebody wants me to focus on pastel, I'm happy to do that. But, you know, I mean,
Well, you might have some interested people, Hilarie, because definitely that's a medium that I'm like, oh, I really would love to learn how to use that medium.
I have started so many people in pastel because I love it so much. And that, you know, when I share it with others, they tend to love it as well. So it's kind of like, I feel like the proud mama sometimes, like, yes, I got this person started and now they're dangerous, you know?
It's also very portable.
Yeah, and it's so immediate and you can just leave it sitting out. You don't have to wash brushes. And I mean, it's great for people that are on the go and they can leave it, you know, leave it out, go back into it at any time.
A perfect medium for plein air painting.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
I don't see you blending or brushing anything together. Is it just literally layer on layer on layer?
This is how I like to work. You know, there's many ways to approach everything. But I feel that my work is the strongest and that my personal hand comes through the work if I'm not blending everything.
Mhm. Interesting. Now, how long does a stick of pastel usually last you? Because I know some people kind of get overwhelmed by the price of it, but I heard that they last quite a while.
I have some of these that I had from the 70s, believe it or not.
Wow.
So they don't go bad. I mean, it doesn't dry out or, you know, and a pastel painting will last forever if it's under glass, you know.
Right. So do you use something like a Spectra fix to secure all the pastel in afterwards?
I do not. I don't like final fixes
Okay.
because part of the beauty of pastel is that they are bright colored, they're beautiful, they're faceted, they, you know, they're so rich and yummy. The
Okay.
colors are so vibrant. And
So-
I feel like no matter, even though the manufacturers might say, oh, you know, they don't dull or darken, I feel like they do. So I like to see the pure pastel.
So you just secure it or keep it safe with framing under glass then?
Yeah, if I don't have time to frame it right away, I'll just put a piece of glassine over it and store it in a flat file. And then, you know, some of them don't deserve to be framed. And the other good thing about pastel, the UArt paper, is that you can wash it off. So if I really hate this demo when I'm done, I can just run it under water. And you can reuse this paper at least 3 times without ruining the integrity of the paper.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a real plus.
Do you have a naughty child closet? That's what some artists call it. There are works that need to go in the closet for a while.
Yeah. Maybe this one today.
Oh, no, it's lovely. I think someone had a question. I'm sorry if I interrupted. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, do you have to worry about the pigment dust? Do you have to have ventilation and such?
You know, some people wear gloves when they paint. They're worried about it. I don't. Some people wear masks. You know, do what's comfortable for you. I personally don't, because I collect the dust. I don't know, you probably can't see this, but I have foil under my drawing board, and then I collect the dust, and it doesn't really, I mean, unless you're in like a windy environment, it doesn't really blow around that much, I don't think.
How do you
And-
sign your paintings?
Pardon?
How do you sign a painting like this?
I usually use, my signature is a red. I usually sign things in red. And so I just, either I use a red pastel pencil or the harder sticks, like this is a new pastel. So it's it's a square, and then I just sign it with that.
It's really incredible, Hilarie. It's beautiful.
Is that you, Anne?
It is. I'm mesmerized by your your skills with pastels. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'll pay you later.
So is the is the UArt paper a paper pad, or is it a big piece that you've cut, or?
You can buy it in as small as like, I think they have sample packs they have the different grades, and they're like I think about a 7x11 or some, it's kind of an odd size. Or you can buy them 9x12, 12x18, 18x24. You can buy them in big rolls and cut your own custom sizes. So
Where's your favorite place to get the paper from?
I typically buy from Blick or Jerry's, whoever has it on sale.
Yeah, you're in the States, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, in Canada, I don't know where you guys get it, or if somebody's in a different area, but.
And you prefer a 500?
This is 500. I actually prefer 400. I feel like it's the more versatile. Yeah, the 500 is, it's a little less gritty, so I get a little less texture, and I just love the texture. So, but then in portraiture, a lot of people like it to be smoother. So like with the fibrous papers, there's two different sides to the paper, and one side of the tooth has got more texture to it. With this, you only have the sandpaper side, but I mean, you could certainly try regular sandpaper if you can't find this, but I didn't say that.
So why is it important to do pastels on a toned canvas versus just white?
Well, I think it's like anything, not that you have to use a toned canvas, but I'm just trying to save my pastels. And if I was trying to get a dark, if I was using that pastel up, if I use the, if I do the block in and use the alcohol, then it spreads it further so that I'm not using up so much of my pastel.
Right, that makes sense.
Because I could, there's nothing that says I can't, but it always leaves a little bit of white of the paper showing if you don't do an underpainting. And sometimes that's nice, but sometimes I don't want that, so.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you made a mistake in here, how do you get
I
rid of it?
love this. You just go right over it.
Okay.
So that's the beauty. I mean, there's no making a mistake with it because you just can keep working it. And then, like I said, if it ever gets to the point where it fills too much and the pastel isn't holding, then you can take that same scrubby brush, make sure it's dry, and then just scrub off a little bit and go right back into it.
Okay. So you really should just resisting the urge to rub off with your finger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's honestly up to you, but I personally don't blend with my fingers too much.
Well, that could get quite messy, and then you have cross-contamination of colors when that happens.
Yeah, and I wear these little finger cots because I tend to wear down my middle finger, this paper is like using an emery board. So if you have nicely manicured nails, you want to make sure that you use a glove or a finger caught.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I can get these on Amazon like by the hundreds. For
What are they
about
called?
$5. Finger caught, C-O-T.
Finger caught. Oh,
Uh-huh. Yeah. So how are we doing on time? I mean, this is
We have
really,
just a couple more minutes here, Hilarie.
well, you know, it is what it is. So.
Oh,
I see King's Framing and Art Supplies in Ontario carries it.
Oh, good.
do you want to add that to the chat, Marlene? If you can, or just tell me what the name of that place was again?
King's Framing and Art Gallery.
Sorry, I didn't get the
Kings.
Kings.
K-I-N-G, Kings.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry about that, Marlene.
Yep. So, I mean, I've used maybe about 7 colors here, not that many.
Wow, that's incredible.
I could watch paintings like this all day on YouTube. Could make do good making videos.
Well, there's less than 15 anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it feels so detailed, but so loose at the same time.
Oh, that's good. That's what I like. I haven't stepped back away from this at all, so I'm not sure. I'm probably going to look at it when you guys are gone and go, oh my gosh, what did I do?
No, I mean, you did this in 40 minutes, Hilarie. That's phenomenal. I'm in awe. I'm pretty sure everyone else is in awe.
Mhm.
Right. Does
Good.
anyone have any other questions for Hilarie before we close for the night? Wow.
I would love to see it finished though.
Uh,
How far out do you think you are, Hilarie?
oh, I mean, you know, I could call this finished, you know, I mean, it's a sketch. So, you know, I'm not looking for a lot of detail. It's just a little sketch, but you can keep working it. You could work on this for a year, you know, but I mean, I just keep finding things that need to be adjusted and.
Right. And just little, like, yeah, just little marks here and there. Like, it's so much control.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hilarie. This has been amazing. Definitely
Thank you.
post it on your Instagram. We'd love to see if you change anything more to it. So
Yeah, my colors look a little different in life. I don't know how it looks on your screen so much, but but thank you for watching.
the colors look really great. And I love that you can see all your marks and stuff like that. Just, it's really beautiful. And yeah, everyone is saying amazing work. So
Thank you so much.
so if you have any questions for Hilarie or questions about her mentorship group, feel free to reach out to Hilarie or myself. And check out mastrius.com if you want to learn more about us. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. And thank you, Hilarie, for sharing your beautiful talent with us. It's really great to see your process and learn more about your course and then your mentorship group coming up. So
Yeah, and I hope I was able to answer all your questions, and thank you for watching and tuning in.
wonderful. Thank you.
Try pastel, it's wonderful.
You got me like itching to try pastel again. You honestly have. So thank you.
Great. Thank
very
you.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.